Give it up for Elisa coming up to join us for a very special performance, you guys.
Okay, first of all, I just have to say, how amazing is it that the three of us all have our parents here? I think that's such a beautiful thing, and I'm really happy I'm not the first person to sing a song that is about a parent, because I'm about to do something very similar. So my name is Elisa Sieber Johnson. In addition to throwing this event, I'm working on writing a book. And my book explores the themes of generational trauma and complex PTSD and how those things that arise in childhood appear as adults in really unexpected ways and can wreak havoc on our lives. And it's no one's fault. And I think that's such a powerful message that we explore in art and through music and writing and poetry. And it's an incredibly amazing gift that I'm sure you both, share the sentiments of being able to share that in a safe space that not only includes our friends and our spouses, but also our parents. And so just from the bottom of my heart to the parents out there that are supporting their children in their healing journeys, thank you. Just going to look at this camera right in front of me. So my book is called How the Fuck Did I Get Here? And it's a really good question that we ask ourselves. And I'm going to read about a 15-minute chapter 1 for you all with the help of Sara and Jessie. So enjoy the experience, get immersed in the story, and let's go. To high and dry. Dry, January 2019. You broke another mirror, and you're turning into something you are not. I wiped the yellow bodily fluids with the consistency of non-fat Greek yogurt that has been left out in the sun from the front of my olive drab t-shirt using an identical one from the overflowing hamper. My newborn hasn't stopped screaming for an ungodly number of hours, a constant distress call sending a panic through me as I try to defend her 1% body weight against all enemies, foreign and domestic. My maternal instinct is constantly on an overdrive to be hyper alert to an extensive array of perceived threats against my fragile, budding Rose. Her tiny body still smaller than the birth weight of her sister, even weeks out of the womb. I yell for my husband for the millionth time today, hoping for an active participation in the struggles of child rearing, which feel like an impossibly unequal task weighing favorable in any direction other than mine. My voice is raw from the arguing, the crying, the blame that has us squabbling like starving toddlers in a fight to the death battle of hungry, hungry hippos. I feel our seams about to break, and all because of my inability to think or function in my delirious state of a postpartum nightmare. Somehow, the bodily fluid smeared across one of my identical t-shirts worn as a part of my uniform feels like a symbolic award of my failure, presented to me ahead of returning to don that uniform again. 10 more weeks. Somehow, it's never enough to feel right again, if there is ever feeling right after a complete internal and external reorganization of cells literally to create new life. 18, 12 weeks, it doesn't matter. You leave one person and you're born to another, never truly ready to return to the person that died in the delivery room. The time ticks away before returning to my required place of duty, and I hear silently every tick-tock of time urging me to get my shit together. The mouth runs up the clock, and it tumbles over in the hallway, igniting an urgent human distress call. Thinking the worst, I throw the stained t-shirt to the floor unceremoniously and head down the hallway, force marching towards that room and cry. Kinsley, from her crib, awakes from the nightmares of her 2-week existence, screaming with a piercing fracture to the universe, penetrating the sound waves around me. Approaching her feels like fighting a sonic boom, but the need to console her gives me courage to press on. Every scream she makes assures me that she still breathes. My own stability crumbling, I lift her barely 6-pound mass and embrace her to my body like I would a bouquet afraid of crushing. She simultaneously melts into me with absolute need and resists with misguided fear. Her volume threatening my eardrums. Just make her stop screaming, I beg, holding her tighter in desperation to find peace and able to successfully comfort her. You see, 2 weeks ago I thought I lost her. 2 weeks ago, the child that I grew with an excited gardener's thumb. 2 weeks ago, I woke in a silent delivery room screaming, "Where is she?" Negligent, I cried, unborn from the anxiety that I didn't notice them taking her away from me. She was admitted into the NICU for a potentially undeveloped lung or pneumonia or a tumor caused by her unexpected foreboding arrival. And when an aloof and exhausted nurse came in to answer my panicked alarms, I ran down the hallway downstairs to the other side of the ward, bleeding down my inner thighs. One thought amplified above them all, is she still breathing? Feeling her raging storm relax against my chest, I close my eyes and I just want to hold on to the rush of quiet, wishing myself to be stronger for her, like I was for her sister. Savannah, born 2 years earlier, was no less traumatizing. Only, it was my life at risk. And I was willing to risk anything and everything for Savannah to breathe life into this world. For her, I was lucky to just be alive, just to witness her rising and falling chest. The two extremes juxtaposed in the Jack and Jill bathroom feels cruelly ironic. They were both born to 2 different worlds, to 2 different parents, really. Savannah was born to the parents on a prized pedestal, at the peak of each of our careers and confidently cocky. I could fly an aircraft under fire in the dark of night, and Cannon could make a hairpin turn in the rain and win the last lap. I was on a Zoom climb to break the overcast glass ceiling in a reverse kamikaze, and he was a cowboy racing off into the sunset to win golden riches. We were unstoppable, and together we finally decided to pit stop in parenthood. And after an uncertain battle to even become pregnant, my mere death delivery of our perfect daughter into this world made us slow down. The first 3 months of her life we spent on the floor of her bedroom together, smiling at the miracle of our luck. And then everything halted in one tired practice run, and Cannon's world flipped upside down, and kissing Savannah cast his decision that the fantasies of his career no longer held a grounded place in our nursery of dreams. Cannon found himself working in blue-collar America with a broken identity and a family mortgage he was struggling to contribute to. He was educated, but he didn't have the traditional career that translated to anything talking than car parts. For the first time, we thought about money, and Kinsley calms with me. She calms with me, as if her tiny body that still seeks the womb could hear the stories being written in my head, and her eyes look off into the distance, futilely trying to focus with incredible clumsiness on something foundational. Fearing she'll never find it, and with a protective desire to shield her mind from ever absorbing the headaches I fight against, the thought screams at my struggling but composed container of motherhood, why is this so hard? I rub her porcelain cheek. I wish that I could assure her that it's not her fault. It's not her fault that I feel this lurking sense of doom, that in her birth, the moment that she was supposed to cry but didn't, it haunts me with a constant trigger that can unleash a flood of sorrows with the speed of her cry. And then her in a trance, I wrap a sling around my body and slip her into me against my chest to incubate her as I venture towards the door to walk downstairs to the living room. Cannon sits decompressing from the warehouse on the couch with Savannah, who is antagonizing our 11-year-old dog Maggie by dressing her in doll clothes. Cannon watches his favorite car shows on YouTube, wearing noise-canceling headphones, reminding me how far we've come since we rode in the glow of rose-colored glasses down 2 individually maintained side roads. I got him those noise-canceling headphones to protect my own sanity against the aberrant sound of annoying middle-aged men about how fast a car is. What I didn't anticipate was his natural hidden superpower of being able to teleport out of this reality and into the one under the TV. I despise those fucking noise-canceling headphones. I yell his name. Cannon! Nothing. I yell Leonard, quite convinced that the headphones don't work that well. Cannon! Nothing. I kick him. Kinsley shifts like a butterfly in a cocoon about to break through as she tenses with me in growing frustration. Our emotional mood sinks like an overcomplicated bomb without a disarming feature, and I preemptively pull a pacifier from my pocket to stick in her mouth as I feel my own patience dwindle in desperation for help. What? He yells back, his volume startling Kinsley, who screams terrified at his annoyance before I have a chance to even plug the breech. What a cruel joke to be played on, to have such a fragile infant daughter with a screech like a banshee that just fractures my very existence. And through the tone-deaf crying, I can't remember how he used to speak to me. I can't remember how I used to speak to him. This man who is my husband and father of the children has become a stranger as the intimacy of our lives forces us to build a bridge over the overgrown Pebbler Center divide of our lives. It wasn't always like this. And we still get marketing emails from the Motel 6 that both our daughters were conceived at. I refuse to subscribe from them because they remind me of a time when hope shone through the canopy. We were happy, weren't we? He doesn't read any of this on my face, interpreting my silent expression as sign language for "get the fuck off your lazy ass and help me with the kids." What? He repeats again, the annoyance lessened but replaced with sounding apathy, resigning to following the orders of a threatening wife rather than deal with my outburst. Nothing. I fight the dark urge to resign myself to putting my fragile 2-week-old daughter down in her crib, kick out my worn-off slippers, walk into the pool fully clothed, and drown myself. But I don't. I don't, because the front door swings open without announcement and in walks my mother carrying a herb de Provence chicken and a Le Creuset roasting pan that she sits on the counter as she complains about the traffic. She gives me an enveloping hug that I meet with stiffness. "Happy birthday, baby." She pulls away, gently maneuvering around my upset infant. I always hoped that becoming a mother myself would help my mom and I bond more, like a magical instant therapy session to heal all those invisible wounds between us. But instead, having children has always made it easier for me to deflect any opportunity for connection with excuses. I'm always too tired for connection, not just with her, but astoundingly with anybody. And the thing is, they just let you retreat. I suffer from, and I abuse the very thing that I sought happiness from, motherhood. "Do you have a bottle of wine? Open?" Mother regards Kinsley's tiny bulge protruding off my chest longingly, wanting the chance to impart her own search for comfort that was lost somewhere in the torn fabric of a maternity gown. And I feel Kinsley nestle against my chest, her body preparing to wage another war of hunger as I feel the pinprick sensation of my breast swelling to nourish her. Savannah chimes in with, "Of course, Mommy always has wine." I wince at her emphasis. Mother raises an eyebrow that is either judgmental, sad, understanding, perhaps some combination of all three. She speaks the truth, though. My monthly wine consumption has become a line item in our family budget. And if I admitted to the doctor that I was up to an average of 1 bottle a night in consumption, I'd be flagged to have my FAA pilot's license revoked. And therefore, according to my medical record, I have an average of 2 drinks a week and everything is fine. By the time we gather around the dinner table, Savannah put to bed with Annie's eager help and Kinsley still sleeping against my body, pretending like she never left it. Cannon pours a second or perhaps third round. And before I have a chance to pull my chair out, Annie raises her glass ceremoniously. Well, I have a toast to make. And hoping for a mild emotional requirement from tonight, my glass joins her in preparation just to be dropped. "Daughter, she stammers. Shit, she never stammers. I have a brain tumor." Her word comes out like a familiar pain radiating from the backs of my eyes, pushing against my sanity, and I want to violently escape my skull just to prove how easily our bodily fluids spill out with just one cut. Mother's voice breaks with a spittle of wine joining clear tears slowly making their way down her aging, but still beautiful face. Slow like the rain trickling down the window of a parked car at a midnight truck stop. Slow like the overused faucet in the back restroom of our favorite Irish pub. The constantly lurking reaper that nips at the heels of my life just grasps at my ankle like a toddler possessed with hunger. and Mother's tears escalate to an uncontrollable tantrum, wailing against the unfairness of her luck. And I want to settle her. I want to hold her in comfort like I would have wanted her to do to me once. But her pain quickly turns to anger as she blurts at my silence. I tell you I'm sick and you have nothing to say. Her question startles awaken the terrified child within me, being awoken by a thunderous clap of lightning as it strikes the house. And a million things come to mind, but I only want to avoid the anthem top crashing down. With the unspoken impact suspended above the kitchen table, I look to Cannon with stunned panic. His expression is distant, and I can't tell if he's silently preparing for damage control or if he's going to leave me. And my chest tingles like I've just been struck by the storm too, and it takes effort to stop myself from standing up and running out the front door after hearing that diagnosis. I don't want to go back there. And in a house full of family, I feel isolated, and yet wildly on display as the milk seeps through my olive dab t-shirt with misplaced nourishment, and I anchor myself to the chair, and Cannon looks like he sits at the end of a plank, and I fear I'll never be able to explain why this moment hurts so much. I'll never be able to explain why I can't tell him any of it. It's too much. I want to tell him if you leave me now, I don't know what I might do. I squeeze his hand under the table and suddenly close to me as his fingers seek some offers of ignorant but well-intentioned comfort. Mother grabs my other hand on the table between our wine glasses. I don't know what I'm going to do, she says to me as she rubs her thumb against my knuckles, and the familiar pang explodes from my chest as Kinsley's piercing cry fractures everything in my awakened body. I can't, Mom! I get up abruptly, letting go of the hand of childhood and the hand of motherhood, and I make 3 steps upstairs before I'm shattered by these simultaneous screams of my mother from the abandoned kitchen table and Kinsley from within my false womb. And I meet them in an equally matched scream released only in my chest, the air escaping like a cold car exhaust. A fight incites between Mother and Cannon over my misplaced sympathies as I shut my existence in Kinsley's room, where I bare myself only to her, and she latches onto me furiously, and we cry for an infancy we never deserved in the corner of her darkened room. And I rub my finger over her tiny features, a single tear dropping to her cheek. She's perfect in my imperfect embrace that holds her against me, clinging to the hope that I had, that the life I built was the life that I wanted. This is what I wanted. My phone buzzes with distraction, but I can't escape that constructed electric fence. And instead, my trigger finger responds to the wail of my perfect, tiny life, leaves me surging with the confused guilt over why I feel so starkly disconnected from it all. And in a barely audible whisper, I look up at the smooth plaster ceiling wall, and I ask myself, how the fuck did I get here?
Woo! Give it up for Lisa. Wow. Amazing.